Assalamu alaikum. It has now been 8 months since I joined the United Nations Support Mission in Libya. I would like to speak to you directly, as I will later announce the details of the UNSMIL facilitated political process for Libya in my briefing to the Security Council. The main objectives of this process are to preserve stability, prevent conflict, support unification of state institutions, and advance the transition towards elections and addressing long-standing fundamental issues. It will strive to adhere to the principles of national ownership, inclusivity, transparency, and accountability. It will be an incremental process. Most importantly, this process will be one for the Libyan people. Before going into details of this plan, allow me to echo the worries of many Libyan people I have been interacting with from across the country. I have had the privilege of being welcomed in many Libyan cities, where I met hundreds of women and men, young and old, from different communities. They all had one message. They are worried about the state of the country and the future of their children, and they want a resolution of the issues. They are concerned about the unsustainability of the economic situation and the rising cost of living. They are tired of corruption and plundering. Others have shared their fear of speaking up and raising their voice because of the shrinking civic space. Efforts to stabilize the country have been hindered by entrenched interests and unilateral decisions that have deepened and protracted the ongoing crisis. Amid the tragic regional crises, Libyans live in fragile stability, and this fragile stability is not sustainable. Libya's institutions and economy are weighed down by the burden of a decade of transitional arrangements, mismanagement of public funds, and informal arrangements that have preserved private and factional interests over institution building and those of the Libyan people. Understandably, Libyans are angry and tired. Despite this, the Libyan people are full of resilience and determination to build a stable and prosperous country for their children and future generations. Libyans have come together before to stop conflict and resolve their differences in Skhirat, Tunis, and Geneva. Libyans across the country have expressed their strong aspiration for peaceful change through national elections, unified state institutions, and the fair and equitable management of public financial resources and a permanent constitution. Let's not forget that 2.8 million Libyans had registered to vote in the elections planned for 24 December 2021. And the recent municipal elections not only reflect the desire of the Libyan people to express their will through the ballot boxes, but also prove that elections can be held peacefully throughout the country. It is time for Libyans to come together again and take another important step forward towards achieving a permanent system of governance through elections. These elections should be held on the basis of a consensual national vision for the country. Parallel and divided institutions are permanently undermining the strength and resilience of the state, its sovereignty, and constitute a threat to Libya's unity. The United Nations is ready to support the effort to end the political impasse, building on progress achieved so far, and also from lessons learned from the past. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the main objectives of this UNSMIL facilitated process are to preserve stability, prevent conflict, support unification of state institutions, and advance the transition towards elections and help resolve long-standing conflict drivers. Let me explain what we have in mind. As a first step, UNSMIL intends to convene a technical committee of Libyan experts to develop options to overcome contentious issues in the electoral laws and options to reach elections in the shortest possible time, including with proposed guarantees, assurances, and a time frame. The terms of reference of this committee will also include developing options for a clear framework of governance with milestones and priorities for a consensually established government. Throughout this process, the United Nations will strongly advocate for principles and criteria that can safeguard the broadest interest of the Libyan people. Second, UNSMIL is committed to lifting the voices of the Libyan people for them to determine their future. Working with Libyan partners, UNSMIL will facilitate and support a structured dialogue to expand consensus for resolution of long-standing drivers of conflict. This dialogue will include the broadest possible participation of all segments of the Libyan society, including political parties, women, youth, cultural components, social leaders, and many others. Moreover, in light of the need to addressing fundamental issues, ensuring a stable and prosperous economy for the benefit of the Libyan people, UNSMIL will engage in moving forward economic reforms. UNSMIL will also continue to work to help advance the unification of military and security institutions, and with partners advancing national reconciliation. UNSMIL will also work to support international consensus in support of all of these Libyan-led efforts. In closing, UNSMIL is committed to supporting the Libyan people to forge a consensus around a strong vision for their country, where their children and future generations can live in permanent stability and prosperity. Obstacles remain. Important political differences need to be overcome. Good faith and compromises will be necessary from all sides. Let me assure you of the mission's full commitment to work with all Libyans to unify and strengthen their institutions and lead the country to national elections to address long-standing issues, to a Libya where all Libyan citizens can be guaranteed equal opportunities to contribute to their nation, with the promise of a brighter and more prosperous future for all Libyan people. Shukran jazilan.